Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the darkest chapters in modern history, a story of unimaginable tragedy, corporate negligence, and a fight for justice that continues even today. Get ready, because we're talking about the Bhopal Gas Tragedy. Picture this, December 3, 1984. It was just another ordinary morning in the heart of central India, in the bustling city of Bhopal. But as the clock struck past midnight, an invisible killer began to stalk the streets. People woke up coughing violently, their eyes burning, lungs on fire, and breath slipping away with agonizing speed. Panic, raw and visceral, spread like wildfire through the narrow streets. Families, disoriented and terrified, ran for their lives, not realizing that death itself was flowing silently through the air. Clinging to every breath they took, bodies lifeless and still, began to collapse on the roads. Within hours, Bhopal, a vibrant city teeming with life, had turned into a chilling tableau of corpses. This wasn't a natural disaster, friends, this was a man-made catastrophe. A horrific event that would go down in history as the world's worst industrial disaster. And it all stemmed from a single, critical failure. At the very center of this nightmare stood an American pesticide plant, Union Carbide India Limited. Their primary product was a pesticide called 7, used widely by farmers to protect their crops from destructive pests. But to create 7, a highly deadly chemical was essential, methyl isocyanate, or MIC. Now, this isn't just any chemical. MIC is a toxic gas so incredibly dangerous that it was once even considered for use as a chemical weapon. Union Carbide chose to store this deadly gas in 3 giant underground tanks, buried deep beneath thick concrete, and here's the crucial part, right in the middle of a densely populated city. A ticking time bomb, sitting underneath thousands of unsuspecting lives. And then, the unthinkable happened. On the night of December 2nd, around 12:05 a.m., workers at the plant began to notice something terribly wrong. A sharp, acrid smell pierced the air, and a burning sensation started to irritate their skin and eyes. Immediately, they rushed to the control room to report a possible gas leak. The supervisor, trying to assess the situation, checked the gauges. The pressure in one tank, codenamed E610, looked alarmingly abnormal. He initially assumed the meter was faulty, a common occurrence, but he was tragically mistaken. Within minutes, the tank began to vibrate violently, a terrifying rumble from deep within the earth. The pressure needle, ignoring all limits, hit the red zone, then broke past it entirely. The very ground trembled. The thick concrete surrounding the tank cracked under the immense strain. And then, with a horrifying roar, from deep underground, a deadly white cloud burst into the night sky, spreading its insidious tendrils over the sleeping city. What makes this even more devastating is that Union Carbide actually had 3 distinct safety systems in place, specifically designed to prevent or mitigate such a disaster. But on that fateful night, every single one of them failed. The gas scrubber, which was meant to neutralize the highly toxic MIC, was completely broken, out of commission. The flare tower, a crucial safety component designed to burn off the gas before it could escape, had a critical pipe missing. It had been removed for maintenance and, inexcusably, never replaced. And the water spray system, intended to douse and disperse any escaping gas. Its hose wasn't even long enough to reach the chimney where the gas was venting. It was a perfect storm of systemic failures and utter disregard for safety. Within mere minutes, literally tons of this incredibly toxic gas escaped into the atmosphere. The invisible, silent cloud, denser than air, drifted slowly and inexorably southward, straight toward the densely populated, unsuspecting neighborhoods of Bhopal. As the gas, like a malevolent fog, settled over the city, it crept into homes, schools, and hospitals, seeping into every corner. People woke up in sheer terror, choking, their eyes burning with an unbearable agony, their lungs filling with fluid, drowning them from the inside. They ran, desperate to escape, but with every panicked breath, they pulled in more and more of the insidious poison. Mothers clutched their children tightly, desperately trying to protect them, but tragically, many never even made it to the door. By dawn, the city was a scene of unspeakable horror. Thousands lay dead in the streets, in their beds, in their yards. Animals, birds, even trees, everything that breathed that contaminated air was dying. Hospitals, overwhelmed and unprepared, were flooded with victims. Doctors, facing an unknown enemy, were at a loss. They were told it might be ammonia, or phosgene, or something else entirely. No one, not a single medical professional, had ever faced a disaster of this scale or nature. By sunrise, over 3,000 people were confirmed dead, and in the coming weeks and months, that number would tragically rise to an estimated 25,000, with more than 500,000 people suffering lifelong injuries, their lives forever altered by that terrible night. When news of the Bhopal gas tragedy finally broke, it sent shockwaves across the entire world, horrifying and awakening people to the dangers of industrial negligence. Union Carbide's CEO, Warren Anderson, flew to India only to be briefly arrested, then controversially released on bail, and allowed to leave the country. He never returned to face justice. Back inside the factory, investigators began to uncover the chilling truth. Tank E610. The source of the leak had been filled to 75% capacity, instead of the recommended, safer, 50%. Even worse, water had somehow entered the tank, triggering a violent runaway chemical reaction that unleashed the deadly Mike gas. The reason for this critical breach: a devastating confluence of broken valves, missing safety caps, and a failed nitrogen system, a system meant to prevent contamination. And perhaps the most egregious finding of all, none of it was properly maintained, all because of severe cost-cutting measures. Union Carbide had slashed its safety budget by thousands of dollars that year, sacrificing human lives for profit. Maintenance was ignored, critical warnings were dismissed, and previous smaller leaks were tragically covered up, seen as mere inconveniences rather than grave omens. In 1989, after years of incredibly difficult and emotionally draining legal battles, Union Carbide finally agreed to a settlement with the Indian government, $470 million, a sum that, while significant, was a tiny, most insulting fraction compared to the unimaginable scale of human suffering and loss. Decades later, only a few low-level managers faced minor fines, while the victims, the real people whose lives were shattered, continued to suffer. They endured chronic illnesses, heartbreaking birth defects in their children and grandchildren, blindness, cancers, and a lifetime of pain and injustice. The Bhopal Gas Tragedy remains a haunting, stark reminder, a powerful testament to corporate negligence, the devastating human cost when profit is prioritized over safety, and the catastrophic impact of environmental disaster. Even today, the abandoned factory still stands, a crumbling, eerie skeleton. Its soil and groundwater are still heavily contaminated with toxic chemicals, a silent, festering memorial to the night when an entire city suffocated. Thousands died in their sleep that night, their last moments filled with terror and agony. Many, many more still live with its invisible scars, a constant reminder of that horrific event. All because, in the cold calculus of corporate decisions, profit mattered more than people, more than safety, more than life itself. The Bhopal Gas Tragedy was not just an industrial accident. It was a profound, heartbreaking failure of humanity. If we forget Bhopal, if we allow its lessons to fade, we risk repeating it, ensuring that countless others might suffer a similar fate. Thank you for watching and for taking the time to learn about this critical piece of history. If you found this video informative, please give it a like, share it with others, and consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us bring more important stories like this to light.